And now we've got Amir calling in from California, pronouns he, him, who says that he can prove that God exists using the cosmological argument. Watch as we suddenly become significantly grumpier with the click of a button. We've got Amir, pronouns he, him, calling from California. Amir, you are on AXP. How you doing, dude?
Yeah, what's up, man? How's it going?
It's going really well, man. It's going really well. We've got about 30 minutes left in the show, and I want to hear what you have to say. So, like, I'll give the floor to you. How can you prove God exists with the cosmological argument? Please define the cosmological argument and explain what you're talking about before you actually make the argument. So we'll make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, so my understanding of the cosmological argument is that it's going to have to do with like objects and sorts of causes and events and stuff like that, just very broadly, right? And the sort of species of cosmological argument that I'm sort of like interested in offering is going to be a modal version of the cosmological argument that sort of differs from the traditional one, right? That's been sort of explicated by Brian Leftow in the literature, right?
So I just Googled it just to be safe, because I'm talking about the same thing as you.
And I've got it in front of me.
Cool. So the googly that I came up with here is just the cosmological argument is the suggestion that it can be assumed that God exists because people can perceive the existence of the universe. The fact that the universe exists is in itself evidence that a God designed it. Not necessarily the argument from complexity, just there is stuff, therefore somebody made the stuff, and that somebody is God. Is that what you're presenting to us?
No, Google actually sort of like delivered you inaccurate information. So the technical usage of the term cosmological argument is most often used to sort of like refer to contingency arguments. And most commonly, right, there's like William Lane Craig's arguments, right, which is saying that, you know, everything that begins to exist has a cause.
Amir, just one second there, Amir.
The universe has a cause.
Amir,
yeah.
Amir, hold on just 1 second. I don't think that Google was wrong. Jim and I both came up with stuff from different sources, but it doesn't really matter. What I'm really interested in is, what are you saying then? So if it's not the cosmological argument that both Jim and I have just checked, what is your actual arguments then?
Yeah, I mean, so now that the sort of like technical error was laid bare there, right? I'm sort of interested in delivering my argument. So we can sort of go premise by premise, right? So premise one of the argument is just that the fact that there exists just changeable things that do exist, right? That's all premise one is saying. And it's saying that
to exist has a cause, yes.
Yeah, and then premise two is going to say that C is going to be possibly de-explained, right?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Explanation. Yeah, so there's a technical term that's employed in the literature called a de-explanation, right? So just a D-explanation. And that's what premise two is sort of like referencing, right?
Well, what is premise two? I didn't hear it.
Oh, yeah, so premise two, you know, if there's some sort of lack of tracking there, right? It was just saying that C is possibly de-explained, right? Where C is going to be the fact that there are changeable things that do exist.
Okay, so things that exist, we agree.
All right, so premise two is that the third premise will be explained. That's whatever. Okay, fine. And then the third thing was what?
No, that's not premise two. Wait, I didn't even say the third premise. Are you like sort of schizophrenic or something?
No, we're repeating what you're saying.
I just repeated what you said. Maybe I misheard you, but like
sort of hallucinating by coincidence. Okay.
Say what you said again, because I clearly misunderstood it.
It's like, yeah, of course. So premise two is just saying that C is possibly de-explained, right?
C explains? That's the word we're having a problem with. That C possibly explains?
Yeah, I know you guys have sort of a problem with, yeah, so it's not C is explained. Look, we're just going to go very slowly here, right? So just like write this down.
It's been going slowly.
Open. Type in the word C.
C, okay, so S-E-A, S-E-E,
or the letter C.
Or letter C.
The letter,
yeah.
The letter C. Yeah, it's a variable. Yeah, propositional variable. Yeah, and then put a space. Okay. And then presumably you know how to type is, so just write is down.
Okay.
Okay. No, we got what you mean by C. That's the problem we have. So letter C, some variable you're calling C, is explained where?
Yeah, C is just what premise one is saying. Yeah, C is what premise one is saying. There's a fact that changeable things do exist.
Yes, things exist. We agree. Go ahead.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
go on.
What the premise is saying. You're like lost in the sauce right now, right?
That's what you just said. is that things
I'm
exist,
repeating
right?
what you
Changeable
just said,
things do
yes.
exist.
C is that things exist.
No, C, wait, now you're just not tracking. So C is going to be the fact that there's changeable things that do exist. So it's about changeable things, right?
Okay.
Presumably, if you're like,
Okay, so we don't need
right?
C. We can just we don't need C. We can just say that things exist.
Right.
We don't need to put a variable to it at all. Let's not complicate things.
Language.
Go on. What's next?
You can sort of try expressing it in inadequate language, right?
Well, you're the one who's talking to us. You're the one who should have been prepared to talk to us. And if we're not understanding what we're saying, it's your fault, not ours. So continue, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go very, very slowly here, right? So premise,
We haven't moved at all in 5 minutes.
Track error here. I agree. Yeah, you have sort of like a mental issue. So premise one is going to be the fact that there's
one more insult and I'm hanging up on your ass, dumbass. Hey, listen, dumbass. I'm tired of you insulting us. You called us. You should be prepared to explain to us what you're talking about. That you can't do that is not our fault. That's your fault as the communicator, not our fault as the communicatees. Okay? So you need to correctly make sure that you are understood. It's not our responsibility to do that. You have to be understood. One more insult, we're hanging up on you. We're not stupid. We're both probably smarter than you are. You're just incapable of explaining yourself adequately. So let's start again. Premise one is what?
Yeah, so it's the fact that there exists just the changeable things that do exist, right? That obtains.
Yes.
Okay.
Premise one,
and
things exist.
No, that's just another tracking error. You're sort of repeating the tracking error that I have corrected on a compendium of occasions.
I tell you what, Amir, everybody in the chat thinks that you're just a troll. You've been nothing but rude and insulting this entire time. You called us schizophrenic, which is shitty and ableist, and I'm not going to tolerate that either. Like, it's just shitty to do for a lot of reasons. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell us just in simple terms what your actual argument is. And if you can't do that, we're just going to move on. I don't want to hear your premises because you're getting into weird little pedantic arguments about you didn't use the right verbiage, this and that and the other. Just tell us in simple terms, what is the argument for God? You have like 30 seconds. Go.
Yeah, did you hear the term changeable, right? So it's not things exist.
Yes, we've heard it every time. Go on.
Changeable things that exist. Oh, okay, but you just didn't write it down. I got it, right? So that's premise one. Now, premise two is saying that fact is going to be possibly be explained, right? And then three is going to be a statement that's sort of expressible in first order logic, which is saying that for all actual x, if x is possibly be explained, then x is actually be explained. And four is going to be that if c is possibly be explained, right, then c is actually be explained. And then from there, it follows that C is de-explained. And then it follows that for all Y, if Y is de-explained, then there exists some X which de-explains Y, right? And then from there, it just follows that if C is de-explained, there exists some X which de-explains C. And then it's going to follow that there exists, and by the way, that's just universal instantiation, right? And then it follows that there exists some X which de-explains C. And then if anything de-explains C, that thing itself is not changeable. And then it just follows that there exists something that's going to de-explain C and is not changeable. That's the whole argument. And if you didn't track that, I can read it out again, right?
I don't need to because I disagree with like, by the third premise, I already disagree with you. It didn't make any sense what you said. Because first of all, just because something could possibly be explained, therefore it is and will be, or whatever the hell you said, I don't care about the exact language. What you said was just if something can be explained, then it will be or is. I disagree with that immediately. Everything that follows it is wrong then. So like immediately that's a problem. And also, at no point did you mention anything even close to a God. So try it again. Don't read all that because nobody wants to hear it. Skip to the very end and tell me, God, this is the sentence I want you to construct. I know God is real because blank. Just tell me what is your actual argument for God.
Yeah, in that sort of ramble there, I actually couldn't tell what premise you were rejecting, right? Because 3 doesn't say what you expressed it as. Now, if the confusion is how the argument gets to theism, right, you might sort of notice that the Kalam arguments, and this is sort of a basic thing that most people are going to know, the Kalam argument is sort of a stage 1 argument. There's further stage 2 arguments to derive the omni properties.
I'm going to cut you off again, Amir.
Yeah, the Kalam doesn't get you to a God.
Yeah,
the Kalam doesn't get you to a God. Yeah, the Kalam doesn't get you to, just real quick. Kalam doesn't get you to a God. Second, cause and effect is not really a thing that exists. We know that from some Nobel Prize winners who did a physics experiment that definitively disproves cause and effect. The experiment is a version of the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen, known as the Bell theorem. The basic experiment is person A observes the spin of a particle that is quantumly entangled with another particle that person B can observe. The spin person A observed means that person B will observe their particle with the opposite spin 100% of the time. Cause and effect is not a thing that exists. So if your argument is based on cause and effect, I'm sorry, physics is telling you that that is not a thing that exists. And so go argue with the physicists if that is your argument of cause and effect.
Yeah, I'm going to give you one more shot. I'm really, really bored by everything you're saying. It's been 10 minutes and you haven't said anything interesting yet. So one more time, here's your prompt. I believe in God because. That's what you're going to say next, and you're going to give us a concise answer as to why you believe in God, and then we'll answer that. If that's not what you're going to bring to the table, we're going to move on to somebody who's serious.
Wait, you made the claim that the Bell theorem disproves causation, right? Even though no premise in my argument says anything about causation, by the way, but it's hilarious that you think that. How does the Bell theorem disprove causation?
Jim, do you care to answer?
Like, why would anyone?
I did. He didn't listen. Yeah, he didn't listen. So
he didn't write that note down. He forgot to take notes.
If he doesn't understand, and he's using the Bell theorem, can you tell me what the Bell theorem is, and can you explain it?
Run away, fat ass. Yeah, run.
Mm-hmm. That's about right. Just absolutely nothing for 10 minutes of absolutely nothing, and then every single time there's a problem or a question or hey, you didn't say anything right, throw an insult and run away.